Most men don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they quit at the worst possible moment. And that moment shows up right now in December. I've seen this play out more times than I can count. In my own life, with clients, with guys who swear they were all in until things got too hard. Here's the pattern. A man puts in real effort, weeks, months, sometimes years. Then progress slows, results don't show up, pressure hits. And instead of holding the line, he backs off. Not because it's over, because it got hard. Bills hit, family stress ramps up, you're tired. You start second guessing decisions that made perfect sense earlier in the year. So you tell yourself a story. I'll deal with this after the holidays. January will be a reset. It makes sense to pull back right now. That story sounds logical. It's also bullcrap. Here's the thing. Things usually get harder right before they work, not after, right before. Most men misread that moment. They think resistance means something is wrong. They think frustration means the plan failed. They think difficulty is a signal to stop. I've made that mistake more than once. And every time the same thing happened. I quit. Someone else kept going. They got the result. Same opportunity, same conditions, different outcome. Not because they were better, because they didn't quit when it got hard. That's why December matters. Most men mentally shut things down right now. They coast, they relax standards, they stop pushing, which means this is the easiest time of year to separate without doing anything special. No new system, no breakthrough moment, just refusing to quit when most guys do. Most men never actually decide. They try things. They wait to see how it goes. They leave quitting on the table. And when pressure hits, they take it. The men who win remove that option. They decide once. Then they act like quitting isn't available. You have no idea how close you are right now. None. And that's the test. If you knew the distance, staying in would be easy. Not knowing is what weeds men out. This episode is about that exact moment. The moment most men walk away and call it timing. Stay with me through the whole thing today, because by the end, you're going to look at whatever you're about to quit very differently.
We're going live, baby.
No. We'll do it live.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host,
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer. He is a certified master life coach and NLP practitioner.
It's true. It's damn true. Thank God it's Friday. Am I right, fellas? If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Paul Bauer. I help men level up and get better with women. And the funny thing about doing that is it tends to make us better men in all areas of our lives. Today is Frame Friday, and we're continuing our Think and Grow Rich mini series with the concept of quitting 3 feet from gold. So December shows where men quit early, right? You've got a lot of guys who are thinking about the end of the year. You have end of year reflections. You're thinking about all the things that you didn't accomplish this year. And you're thinking, okay, well, next year's going to be different. Next year's my year. And I'm going to make New Year's resolutions. And when you're reflecting on the whole year, you start to think back on like all the things that you quit on, like all the things that you could have done, you could have kept going with. Now, there are sometimes there's good reasons to quit, I think. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, I was working with a business coach the end of last year, going into the beginning of this year. And we were really working towards a specific business model. And I went out to Toronto and hung out with the coaches up there and a bunch of other guys in the program, and they were trying to sell me on a keep going with the program. It was going to cost me $40,000 to be a part of this program, and I was like, no, I don't like your business model. I don't like what it is that you want me to do, right? And so for that, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna tap out. I'm gonna tap out from that because this is not my vision. This is not what I saw myself doing, right? So I tapped out. But what's funny is one of the guys in the program, he like I still keep in contact with him. He kept going. And like he had a, God, how much did he make? He had something like an $800,000 month. This last, like, I think 2 months ago, he sold enough clients that he had an $800,000 month. And I was like, that's crazy, man. But I'm like, at what cost? At what cost? Like he likes doing that sort of thing. I don't. So I was like, I'm not going to try to hypnotize myself into liking something that is not my vision, right? But so that was one thing I quit on this year, but I thought for a good reason. I do not regret that decision. Like not moving forward with that coaching program. But sometimes there's other things that guys actually want, right? They want to achieve a certain goal and they just stop, right? I see it a lot with guys who are dating, right? They're out in the dating circuit and they're striking out right and left. And instead of persevering and trying to, keep funneling in new plates, they keep that sniper mentality going. And that's frustrating. It's a very frustrating dating strategy. And that's why I tell guys, stop doing that crap. But they do that. They go all in on one girl and then they stop talking to other girls. And then that doesn't work out. They get frustrated. Then they quit for months, sometimes years, right? And it's like, what are you doing, dude? Like, what are you doing? So that happens a lot. So I'm curious. We're going to get into it though. I'm curious. Were there things this year that you guys maybe quit on that you probably, if you just kept pushing forward, you would have had better results? Start thinking on that for a little bit. While you're thinking about that, do like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And sometimes I even have new episodes on, what is it? I have new episodes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They're not really episodes though. They're sponsored videos. So they're a lot shorter. Anyway, let's see here. Temporary defeat is why most men stop. So a lot of these ideas, again, guys, are coming from Think and Grow Rich and his story on people who quit 3 feet from gold, right? And so let me tell you about the Cliff's Notes version of that story. There was a story of a guy in Think and Grow Rich who a lot of people in the 1800s were, trying to strike it rich with gold mines and stuff. And so this guy bought himself a claim and he went and spent all this money on excavators and equipment and all this kind of stuff. And he started mining and he found a gold vein and he followed that gold vein and he excavated as much as he could until the gold vein stopped. And then he kept digging, and he couldn't find the gold vein anymore. And so he got really frustrated, right? He got temporary defeat. He got really frustrated and decided, you know what? This isn't for me. I guess gold digging just isn't for me. And so he decided to go and sell like all of his equipment to this scrap junk dealer in town. And he decided to like move out to like California or somewhere. And he decided to start doing some other business. He basically gave up on gold. Well, the junk dealer was like, okay. I wonder if I could go find like a geologist, someone that understands how, rock formations work and whatever. And so he brought an expert in to go look at the gold mine. Right. And because the junk dealer bought the gold mine, bought all the equipment and stuff from the guy. and had a professional come in and take a look at what was going on with the geology. And the guy goes, "Oh, well, he's right on a fault line. I bet you if he dug down like 3 more feet, he'll find that vein again." And so the guy who bought the gold claim and all the equipment dug 3 more feet and refound the gold vein and ended up making millions of dollars on gold. But the other guy quit 3 feet from where he would have found that gold vein again, right? And so that's the concept we're thinking of today, right? Like if you are persistent in your goals, you're not going to give up quickly, right? You're going to find other ways. You're going to find ways around it. And that's what the junk dealer did, right? He was like, I don't know much about this, but the gold's probably there. Let's go find an expert, right? So what goals did you quit on this year? Let me ask you this. Let me know in the chat or in the comments if you're watching the replay. Were there any goals that you quit on this year? Let me know. Maybe it was a weight loss goal. Maybe it was a dating goal. There's guys I see a lot in the wolf pack who it's almost like when they drop comments in there, you're never quite sure where they're at, right? Because there's guys that join in because they're like, I want to fix my marriage. And then when they post, they're like, I don't know if I want to fix this shit. I just want to throw in the towel. Fuck this bitch, right? You've made so much progress. Why are you quitting now? I don't understand. So let me know if that's, and I'm not shitting on anybody, right? If that's you, if there's something that you could have pressed forward on, but you gave up, let me know in the comments. Okay. But men still do this kind of stuff today, right? You see it, you especially see it at the beginning of the year, right? People make New Year's resolutions and they quit on those all the time. In fact, gyms expect people to do this. This is how gyms stay in business, right? They do a big, huge marketing push at the end of December and all through January. Hey, get in now and sign up for 1 year and whatever. And they're expecting a mad rush of people to sign up for a gym membership. And then they're expecting people to quit in February. And most people do, right? That's why when you go to the gyms in January, it's a madhouse. It sucks to go to the gym in January because you have a bunch of wannabes who are super motivated. They're super motivated because of New Year's resolutions, but they don't have the discipline. And so they give up, right? They do it for a month. And then they're like, oh, this is really hard. I actually got to take time out of my day to do this stuff. It's way too hard to do this. I'm just going to quit. Right. But a big reason why people quit is because they didn't really have a genuine desire to actually achieve that goal, for one, right? And they never developed a discipline to do it no matter what, right? And persistence, it's a mindset issue, right? If there's something that you truly want, something that you're like, I'm going to get this come hell or high water, you're going to develop the mindset of I'm going to achieve this goal no matter what, right? And then that's going to give you persistence. You're going to be tenacious at it. You're going to keep going, right? But a lot of people aren't like that. A lot of people have a whole lot of quit in them. Look at the MGTOW community, right? The MGTOW community is full of quitters, absolute freaking quitters, right? Now, when I say that, the MGTOW guys get really pissed off at me, but it's like, well, dude, you're a total quitter. No, and they're like, well, why should I do this if a girl's just going to divorce, great me? I'm like, who says you have to get married, right? Like, but you're gonna give up on all women because one woman burned you once. Like, there's 4 billion women on the planet. One woman burns you, and you're like, that's it. All women are trash, and I'm just gonna give up on all women completely. Now, to be fair, MGTOWs exists on a spectrum. There's some guys that are more like me where they're just not going to get married, but they date, they have LTRs and whatever. They just are like, I'm never getting married again. Like I would consider myself MGTOW on that end of the spectrum, but there's other guys that just completely give up, swear away women altogether because of my peace, bro. And you'll find that those guys don't have any peace either. They're just, they're unhappy for other reasons, but they just don't have a woman in their life. And so then they delude themselves by saying it's a peace thing. But those guys just don't have any kind of persistence either, right? But a person that really wants to achieve that goal, they'll figure out a way, right? They'll go into debt if they have to achieve this goal, but they're going to achieve this goal. They'll pull in experts. They're like, okay, what am I doing wrong here? Let me help me figure this out. They'll consult books. They'll go to YouTube channels. They'll listen to podcasts and stuff. They're like, I'm going to figure this out, right? That's someone that has a persistent mindset. Okay, and I'd like for you guys to try to develop that yourselves. And a good way to do that is by grabbing my book, Psychology Paradigm.
Have you ever felt like something's holding you back in your relationships? Like you're always on the back foot, struggling to connect with women? You're not alone. Many men are taught to be weak, to defer, to play small around women by their upbringing, by society, by the very world that shaped them. But what if you could break free from the invisible chains that have held you back? What if you could rewrite the script, reprogram the paradigm that's been running your life? This is your chance to step into the man you were always meant to be. In The Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence, Psychology Paradigm by Paul Bauer, the first book in R.P. Thor's groundbreaking series, you'll learn how to understand and transform the paradigms that have shaped your life. You'll discover how to develop a dominant masculine presence, one that commands respect, inspires trust, and brings fulfillment to your relationships. Don't wait for life to change on its own. Take control. Order your copy of The Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence, Psychology Paradigm now on Amazon. Available in hardcover, paperback, or on Kindle. This is more than a book. It's your roadmap to a life of purpose, strength, and success. Make the decision today, reprogram your life, and step into the man you were meant to be.
Indeed, indeed. We got a bunch of guys in the chat here. What's going on? CW's in the house. He says, morning, fellas, and Nurse Chick, never give up where it matters. I agree. Is Nurse Chick in the chat? See, so Nurse Chick sometimes will make a comment before I go live, and I can't see it. Once I get into the studio, I can only see people who have commented after I got into the studio, so I can't see if she's there or not. If she's not here, that's a paddling, babe. Hola, what's going on, Phil? Dar Fitness in the house. He says, happy Friday, gents. This is the most important time of next year. Damn right. I liked your post today, man, where it looked like probably AI or something, but you were like hanging a banner down on the side of a building that says like, this wasn't my best year, but I learned a lot. I like that. That was motivating for me this morning, man. CW says, not New Year's resolutions, more like next year's goals. Yeah, I like that. Dividend Gypsy says, good morning from sunny Mexico, brothers. I gave up on creating YouTube videos. Interesting. Why did you give up on creating YouTube videos? You just don't like doing it, or was it too hard? It's really hard. It's really hard to get views and stuff on YouTube. I don't know if you guys knew that. It's hard to grow a channel. It's hard to grow social media. Honestly, and the algorithms are constantly changing. It's like, I don't know. You're always at the mercy of this stuff. You have to have good hooks. You got to. Some people say, oh, you have to have good SEO. You have to have good search engine optimization for YouTube. That's not it. It's for YouTube, brother. It's all about your title and the thumbnail. And sometimes, like, I have a tool I use called vidIQ, and vidIQ will tell me this title's fire, bro. It's a 97 out of 100. And I'm like, okay, perfect. And I'll get 100 views on that video. But one that I just sort of make up randomly, and vidIQ says, oh, that's a shitty title, man. It's 45. I'm going to rate that at a 45 title. That'll get 500 views. I'm like, I don't understand. I don't understand any of this stuff, man. But I'll tell you what. So I started another YouTube channel this year called Quantum Reality Awakening. And I didn't quit on it, but I did stop doing it for a while because I need to really focus on my bread and butter, which is the Come On Man podcast, right? So I'm like, that's just pulling me in different directions that I don't need right now. So I'll probably pick that up later, but I haven't quit on that completely. It's just on the back burner right now. Brother Dan's in the house. What's up, man? Good to see you here. And he says, I just sent my girl back to her place early this morning and went to the gym. Hey, good. Yeah. You tell her to go on get now. Go on get. Daddy's got to go to the gym. Now, this is something I talk about a lot in the podcast. We talk a lot about it when it comes to mental frame in the red pill space, right? But most men never actually decide what they want, right? Most men don't do this. I've decided I'm giving myself a challenge. I'm listening to 3 audiobooks on repeat for the next 90 days. Now, 2 of them are only like they're really short, like 40-minute long audiobooks that came out in the early 1900s. One's called The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale, and the other one is called Feeling is the Secret by Neville Goddard. And then I'm also listening to Wallace D. Wattles' The Science of Getting Rich, which is, that one's like an hour and a half long, right? They're really not long. I can actually listen to all 3 of them in a day, or at least the 2 short ones, and then most of The Science of Getting Rich in a day. They all have a lot of stuff that is in common with Think and Grow Rich. In fact, The Science of Getting Rich predates Think and Grow Rich. I did a whole series on it. It's really good. But one of the things that they all talk about is how you need to figure out what you want. Okay. And one of the things that Earl Nightingale talks about in The Strangest Secret is how, if you walk down the street and ask 100 dudes what the key to success is, none of them will be able to tell you. Right. And when you ask them if, especially if they're older, like if they're in their 40s, 50s, or 60s, like, did you want to be successful when you were in your 20s? They will all say, yes, I wanted to be successful. Right. And Earl Nightingale says, like, the definition of success is the persistent pursuit of a worthy ideal. Right. And so that means, like, no matter what it is that you want to do, like you want to be, what did he say? He's like, you want to be a bus driver. Like, that's your ambition. I want to be a bus driver. You want to be the best damn bus driver there is. That's the pursuit of a worthy ideal, right? So success is subjective, right? But it's I have a goal, and I will stop at nothing to achieve that goal. And then once I achieve that goal, that's a successful thing. But a lot of guys don't do that. They never create a goal. They never sit down and think about what they want, right? This is one of the reasons when it comes to dating and relationships, I talk about it ad nauseum, is the idea of your contenders list, right? Figuring out what you want in a woman using a contenders list. It's an entire exercise in figuring out what you want in a relationship, right? Sitting down and getting really clear on all the qualities you want in a woman, and the qualities, like how you want her to show up for you in a relationship, like all those types of things, is figuring out what you want. Most guys don't do that. A lot of men wish, right? They wish, they're like, oh, it'd be nice to have a girl like this. It would be nice to have a job like this. It would be nice to start my own business. It would be nice to lose 100 pounds. But they never decide on a crystal clear goal and start working towards that goal, right? Think about that. Most guys don't do that. Most guys don't do it. Everything's nice to have. It would be nice, but they never formulate a plan. Like, sit down, and the first step is figuring out where you want to go, right? Now, this time of year, with all the Christmas nostalgia going on, it makes men think that their best years are behind them, right? Which makes men want to quit even more, especially guys who are recently broken up with, they just went through a breakup or a divorce and stuff like that. Now they're thinking back on all their past Christmases, and, oh, it was like this and everything was great, and now I don't have that. And why even move forward, right? A lot of guys want to get zeroed out this time of year. A lot of guys like to unalive themselves this time of year. And it's all because this time of year forces people to reflect on all their past years. And they're like, why even go forward, right? And that December, there's a lot of emotional pressure during the holiday season, which magnifies doubt even more. You've got bills, you've got expectations, you've got a lot of guys feel really lonely this time of year. Even if they're married, they feel really lonely this time of year. There's a lot of family stress. A lot of people have their family get-togethers come along, and all that kind of stuff piles in this time of year. That's why December is full of depression, plus the lack of sunlight, and it's cold outside and you're stuck inside and all this kind of stuff. It makes men question the path they're on. You know what I mean? And so a lot of guys are like, why even move forward with what I'm doing right now? A lot of guys want to quit, right? By the way, if you're finding value in any of these episodes, do consider sending a super chat. But what's fascinating is opportunity often looks a lot like failure, right? Think of Thomas Edison, right? Thomas Edison, he failed 10,000 times trying to invent the light bulb. And he finally did it, right? He had persistence. He just kept at it. And when someone asked him, they're like, man, I heard that it took you 10,000 attempts before you finally created a working light bulb. But didn't that make you want to give up? And he goes, absolutely not. It taught me 10,000 ways not to do this, right? It's a totally different mindset. But he was looking at it as from a position of opportunity. We call that in NLP a reframe, looking at it from a different point of view. You can look at it like, oh, I might as well give up because I found, everything I try keeps turning to a shit sandwich, right? So I might as well give up. Or you could look at it like, oh, okay, well, that can't do it that way. We got to go back to the drawing board, right? We got to figure something else out, right? So what's fascinating is I had a similar situation, right? I had a similar situation back in, maybe it was September, October. I can't remember what it was, but I got in trouble on Facebook. I'm still technically in trouble. I'm still demonetized on Facebook until Christmas Eve. But I got in trouble on Facebook. I posted a meme. Well, actually, it wasn't a meme. It was a screenshot of a Tinder profile that one of the Wolfpack brothers posted in the Wolfpack. And in it, this lady had some kind of like loose, vague reference to drugs in it. And I posted it on all social media, and I said, which one of you guys is going to come and save this girl, right? It was all just a big joke. Well, Facebook said, you're promoting drug use. We're demonetizing you. We're removing your ability to run ads, which running ads is like, paramount for any business. You need to get your word out somehow. Social media, like just relying on social media algorithms is very hit or miss. So you need a reliable way to get the word out, and paid advertising is, a proven method of doing that. And so I was running Facebook ads, and they said, you're not allowed to run ads right now. And I was like, what the hell, right? This is my business. This is what I have to do. Well, that failure ended up turning into a really good opportunity because it forced me to look for another option. And so I started playing with X ads, right? Using the X ad platform, and the X ads were phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, right? Well, I got banned from X, so but now Facebook ads is working again. So I'm just like, oh, I guess I'll go back to Facebook ads. But those failures, these setbacks of me getting like in trouble on social media, is instead of just quitting and going, well, crap, I better go get a 9-to-5 job. It just forced me to look for a different opportunity. You see what I'm saying? So what's interesting is a lot of times a lot of people want to quit because we put in a lot of effort, right? A lot of effort. We're not really making a lot of traction. And it's right before a sudden breakthrough. There's a book out there, a real short book called The Curve. The Curve. I don't know if you guys have ever heard it. It's very much along the lines of what we're talking about today. But they're saying that when you're starting out a new endeavor, you usually start out pretty high on this curve because you're all motivated, excited for this thing. And then as you put work in, it's not paying off. Your sort of motivation dips down to the bottom of this curve. And that's where most people give up. They give up down right at the bottom when it's the suckiest. I'm just not seeing any progress here, whatever. But the people that just keep going, that's usually when they hit a breakthrough. And when they hit a breakthrough, it skyrockets, right? It all of a sudden goes up. So you usually have to put in a lot of effort and stuff like that before you have that sudden breakthrough. But men often quit because the results that they're looking for are taking longer than expected. Okay. Now this is one of the reasons why I somewhat disagree with Napoleon Hill in this when it comes to goal setting, especially for C-type goals, right? So if you guys have ever tuned into a Frame Friday before, you've probably heard me talk about A-type goals, B-type goals, and C-type goals. A-type goals are goals that you've done before, right? Like, let's say you have a goal of getting a new car. Well, you probably have a car now, and you know how to buy a car. So getting a new car really is just a matter of having enough money down to go shopping and then go get a loan and put some money down, right? It's not that hard, right? You know how to do it. A B-type goal is something where you might have never done it before yourself, but you have a general idea of how to do it. Like a good example of this is weight loss. We have a brother in the pack who's pretty heavy. He's pretty much been heavy his whole life. I don't necessarily know if he really has ever worked out seriously in his whole life or ever really tried to diet or anything seriously in his whole life. But he has a general idea of how it works. You just eat less and work out more, right? Like, it's a pretty simple thing. I've just never done it. So we're like, okay, well, now you're going to do it, right? Like, so we're making him check in every day on his steps and making sure he's getting his walks in and all that kind of stuff. But he has a general idea. A C-type goal is something where it's so big that you have no clue how to do it. You've clearly never done it before, and you have no way of knowing how you're going to get there, but you're like, I'm going to get there. Okay, that's a C-type goal. Well, Napoleon Hill recommends setting a definite date on when you're going to achieve that goal. I will have $8 million by this day, right? And what's good and bad about that is that, like, it forces you to have a deadline that you're working towards, so that it makes you so that you don't waste a lot of time. You're like, oh, I have this deadline, I got to work on this, right? So that sort of motivates you to want to keep working toward it. The problem with setting a date is something I learned from Andrew Kapp in his book, the Last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read, which is a great book. I highly recommend it. And Andrew was on the podcast once or twice too, but he's like, don't set a goal because you're subconsciously setting yourself up for failure if you don't achieve that goal by that date. Because if you set a goal to, I will have this by this date, and you don't achieve it, a lot of people, that will cause them to give up. They're like, well, this shit doesn't work. I might as well, this law of attraction stuff doesn't work. I'm going to just give up. Right. And so they stop pursuing that goal. But when you let go of that attachment to outcome, and you're like, I will get to this goal, and I trust the timing of the universe or whatever, right? Because there's also this concept called the law of gestation, where there's got to be a specific period of time for something to happen to become reality. And sometimes that just means, like, you might have to learn new skills, right? So that, like, in order for you to achieve this goal, you have to learn new skills without, it's going to require some time. Like, let's say you want to be a doctor, right? Well, you can't say, I'm going to be a doctor in 1 year when you have to go to 8 years of medical school, right? So sometimes setting definite dates isn't always the best thing, but guys will do that, right? They'll set a definite date, and because they're not getting results by the time of that deadline, it makes them want to quit. Okay. So a lot of guys quit because the results take longer than expected. By the way, I mentioned the guys in Wolfpack. A lot of guys in Wolfpack are working towards goals. If you are a guy that would like some motivation, you'd like some guys cheering you on, you'd like some guys giving you tips and tricks, guys that you can bounce ideas off of to achieve your goals, it's time to run with the Wolves, brother.
Bear Club? Not anymore.
Home, midlife drift, feeling alone. You don't need hacks, blogs, lies. You need men with fire in their eyes. We rebuild from the ground up. No excuses, no soft stuff. Telegram lit 24/7. Brothers locked in, steel, not heaven.
For the love of God, too sweet me, baby. CW says the pack hangout was awesome as usual last night. Yes, if you guys didn't know, we had our December pack hangout last night, and it was awesome. It was a good turnout. It was, I was on the call for about 2 hours like usual, and I don't know how much longer you guys stayed on, but CW there was on the call. He always joins the call like near the end because he's out in Alaska, so he's the time difference. He's just getting off work about halfway through the hangout, so he shows up about halfway, but that's okay. That's how it's supposed to be. You don't have to be there for the whole thing. Anyway, it's a good group of dudes, guys. Get in the pack. You don't know what you're missing. So Dividend Gypsy says, I post random stuff like concert recordings, but no true content creation. Yeah. It's like if you're just sort of casually posting on YouTube, just for your own, shits and giggles, or your own, I don't know, memories and stuff like that. Like I have some older YouTube channels when YouTube first started that were just personal stuff, and I go in there sometimes just to look at all the old pictures of my kids, when they were little, and I used to make all these videos and stuff like that. But none of that was to like go viral or whatever. Although my son, but the first viral video that I ever had was I gave my son a Warhead candy, right? This Warhead candy, and he was 3 years old. And it was Halloween, and I was like, buddy, no, you don't want this candy. It's too sour for you. You're not going to like it. And he insisted, and I go, okay, but let me get the camera first. And so I got this camera of him, and I give him the sour candy, and his face just gets all, like puckered up and stuff like that. It was hilarious. And it was right around the time of Gangnam Style, right? The Psy Gangnam Style video. And so my kids loved that video when they were really little. And my daughter walks up and like whispers something in my son's ear. And then he goes, oh, and he turns around and starts doing this little like booty shake thing. And that got 2 million views. It was hilarious, but good times. All right. December is the time to recommit. Okay. So let's say there was something that you really wanted to do, but you quit earlier this year. Now's the time. Now's the time to say, you know what? I did quit on that goal. I'm going to hit the ground running right now. So you want to hit the ground running while everyone else is being lazy. And this is the time of year when nothing's getting done. I used to, back when I worked in corporate job before I retired, I loved working in December. I didn't take time off in December. I would much rather take time off in the middle of the year when everything was wild and crazy. And then at the end of the year, going to work when like half the office was gone because everyone's taking, the month of December off for family and traveling and all that kind of stuff. Like it was awesome because nothing got done. And I still got paid. It was great. But everyone else is doing that, right? Most people are being lazy. And so now is a good time for you to go, you know what? I'm going to sit down, figure out what I want, and I'm going to start like hitting the ground running towards and getting ahead of the New Year's resolution crowd, right? But a lot of guys don't want to do that because your environment pushes you to quit. You have family, friends, coworkers. They all normalize mediocrity and being lazy during the holidays, don't they? You get a lot of peer pressure of like, why are you working so hard? You should relax. Like have some cookies, have some cocoa. Like, and I fall victim to this quite a bit every year. This year I'm being pretty good about it though, right? But there's a lot of times where I'm just like, starting on Thanksgiving and going into January, I just go full R-tard when it comes to eating, right? I'm just like, oh, whatever. I eat all the cookies. I get all the eggnog. I just stop. I could easily put on 20 pounds in a month, like just doing that kind of crap, right? So a lot of us tend to do that. So what I invite you to do is don't be lazy because you've been lazy all year. If you weren't lazy, you would have achieved your goals, right? So that's why, and you being lazy is why you didn't reach those goals. Persistence is forged in uncomfortable seasons, right? I want you guys to think about the Nietzsche quote, that which doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Okay. So maybe you gave up because you were going through some kind of adversity. Something wasn't working right. You got frustrated. So you decided to give up. you need to understand that persistence and strength is forged when you don't quit, when you get through that adversity and you come out better on the other side. Like you look back on that stuff as things that made you stronger, either physically or mentally or in some other way, right? Spiritually, sometimes. Not quitting and pushing through the uncomfortable stuff makes you stronger, and it makes you just a better in all areas, don't you think? By the way, guys, follow me on social media. The links are in the description. I'm on all the good platforms again. At Best Men's Pod on X, guys, if you want to help me out. I think I have like 140 some odd followers now. So I'm trying to get to 200, guys. One decision can reroute an entire year. Okay. Now there's a formula of intention and persistence. Intention plus persistence equals success. Okay. Now Napoleon Hill doesn't say intention. He says a definite purpose, right? Or working with a definiteness of purpose. What he's talking about intention. So having a goal, intending to achieve that goal no matter what, and then persisting through any kind of obstacles or whatever. If you keep doing that, having that intention and having persistence and not giving up, not quitting, you will eventually achieve your goal eventually, right? So you need to sit down and decide on what you want and start working toward it now. Okay. Right now. You can't work on it yesterday. This is a thing that Wallace Wattles talks about in The Science of Getting Rich. He's like, you have to work with what you can right now. Right. So he's like, you might want to be a business owner someday, but you're working in a steel mill, right? Because that's the 1800 or early 1900s that he's writing this. You might be working for the steel trusts, but you want to be a farmer someday. You don't have the capital to buy a farm. You have to do what you can right now in the moment, and that is you're working for the steel mill, right? So you've got to persist on being the best version of the best steel worker you can to make as much money as you can in order to get to that next level. Right. And he was saying, like, you have to do it right now. It's the only time that you really have. You can't work on it yesterday. The whole year is almost over. You can't work on it 3 months ago. You're here in December. Right. So you have to work on it right now, and you can't work on it tomorrow because tomorrow never comes. You can't work on it in the future. The future doesn't exist. The only thing that truly exists is right now. Right now. Everything else is in your head. And if you say, well, I'll do it tomorrow. Well, by the time tomorrow comes, it's today. And then you still won't want to do it. You'll still want to do it tomorrow. Right. So you have to sit down now and figure out what you want now and start working towards what you want now. Sometimes the first step in getting what you want is figuring out what you want and sitting down and writing it out. Right. Just doing that is taking action in moving forward towards your goal. Okay. And a lot of men, they underestimate how close they really are. They just don't realize it. If they just keep pushing, they're almost there. They're so close to a breakthrough. Right. And then going back to the 3 feet from gold story, that guy was 3 feet away, and he sold the gold mine, sold all of his equipment, and went off and, became a office worker or some shit. I don't remember. He found out later that he would have struck it rich. Right. And he always lived with that regret that, crap, I could have done it. I was this close, but I quit. Right. You don't want to be that guy, because most guys underestimate how close they are. Okay. By the way, if you guys are, in a situation where you're trying to turn your marriage around, maybe you've read Get Her to Fuck You Again, and you're doing the work and you're starting to get really frustrated. You're so close, brother. You're so close. You're closer than you think. And what might push you over the edge is maybe adding a little passive dread. She used to watch you, hang on your words, crave your presence. Now, she barely notices when you enter the room. And if she does, it's with eyes full of boredom. You've tried being softer. You've tried being sweeter. You've tried everything they said would work, and still nothing. The truth no one wants to say out loud, she doesn't miss you because there's nothing to miss. But what if you can make her feel the fear of losing you without saying a word? This isn't manipulation. It's psychological contrast. It's healthy anxiety. It's passive dread. Rebuild tension, reignite her curiosity, make her jealous of the life you're living without her at the center. You don't chase desire. You become the man it fears losing. Visit dread.fixdeadbedrooms.com now and take the course. Don't wait for her to act different. Take action for yourself.
Indeed. Let's see here. Will Ringer's in the house. He says, morning, y'all. What's up, brother Will? And CW says that Dutch apple pie gets me every time. You know, Nurse Chick makes a pecan pie that tastes so good, makes me want to slap my mama. I'll tell you. I'll tell you what. Speaking of Nurse Chick, she says, good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, Nurse Chick.
I'm so naughty.
I'm gonna come.
Yep.
That pussy must be ridiculous.
It is, guys. It absolutely is. Absolutely ridiculous. All right. So going back to the 3 feet from gold story, right? The guy who won was the junk man. You know, he bought the claim, he got all the equipment, and he won because of his mindset. He looked at the situation completely differently, right? The guy who gave up was like, I don't know what I'm doing. This I've got as much gold out of this as I possibly can. I'm just going to give up. Well, Junkman was like, there's got to be a way. There's got to be. How can I get more gold out of here? If this guy got gold out already, there must be more gold here. How can I? Right. So it was a different mindset. It was, instead of I can quit attitude, this guy had a can do attitude. How can I? And so what did he do? He went and hired an expert to come in and take a look at the situation and advise him. And he goes, oh, there you go. Right. Oh, there is a solution here. So sometimes that's all you need, right? Is if you're working towards something that's just not working out, you need an expert. Now, sometimes that means hiring someone. Sometimes that means just getting a book, sometimes it means watching a YouTube video. Sometimes it just means doing more research on the internet, right? But if you're not getting the results you want, there's got to be a way. Nothing is impossible, guys. Literally nothing's impossible. And if you're just not getting the results you want, it's probably because there's something that you're doing that's just not working right. And you just need to modify what you're doing, right? That's usually what it is. But a lot of guys have a lot of quit. I might as well, juice isn't worth the squeeze here. December, I don't know what I'm talking about there. So one of the things, it's funny because I don't quit easily. In order for me, if I have a definite goal, I'm typically pretty persistent at that goal. Now, sometimes what you'll find is as you're moving towards certain goals, you'll realize that what you thought you want isn't necessarily what you want. And you have to be open for something better, right? Like what else could there be that I could do? You know what I mean? But no matter what, you want to keep moving towards something, right? So for instance, a good example of this is when I first started doing the podcast. This was back in 2020 when I started doing the podcast during the quarantines, like everyone else that started a podcast. Initially, I just was doing it as a hobby, something to keep me busy. You know what I mean? I would interview other guys from the men's group I was in, the 3% man group. And for the first couple of months of the podcast, I was like, this is just something fun that I'm doing. And it wasn't until I broke up with Marine Corps chick that I had this sort of epiphany of like, man, I could make something of this. I actually enjoy doing this enough that I want to do this full time. I want to be a professional podcaster, right? And so I set the intention. That's why you'll periodically hear me talk about on the podcast, me referring to myself as a professional podcaster.
And I've been doing that for 5 years. I'm a professional podcaster. And the thing is that that's still the goal. That's still the goal, right? And so no matter what form that takes place, that's the ultimate goal, is to do this full time, be able to talk to you guys full time and run my mouth on YouTube and Spotify full time, right? All the other side stuff like writing books and coaching men and having the wolf pack and all that kind of stuff, it's all sort of secondary to the passion, which is running my mouth on YouTube. Right. So when I looked at what was happening earlier this year with my coach, and the business model that they were trying to have me do, I was like, that's just not what I want to do. Right. I don't want to spend my days doing that type of stuff. I'd much rather be on YouTube doing this kind of stuff and then making my money from, books and courses and all that kind of stuff. That's the business model I'd much rather do. Right. And so I still haven't given up. I'm still doing it. In fact, I am doing it full time now. Right. But I just stopped doing that method because I was like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be another method of doing this sort of thing. Now, one of the things that was instilled in me early in life from my karate sensei was an attitude of not giving up, right? And that a lot of that comes from the leadership rules that we would have to read at the beginning of karate class. So we go down there and we read the leadership rules at the beginning of the class and black belt rules at the end. And both of those, both sets of those rules are in my book, Psychology Paradigm. I wanted to immortalize the leadership rules and the black belt rules that Mr. Bodie, my sensei, had us read all the time. The leadership rules were, I always think positive, I never quit, I always keep trying, and I can do anything, right? If you can say that kind of stuff to yourself on a daily basis, I always think positive, I never quit, I always keep trying, I can do anything, you will have a more persistent attitude towards achieving your goals. That kind of stuff read on repeat with persistence seeps into your subconscious mind and it forces a paradigm of not quitting. Okay. I'd highly recommend you guys say something like that to yourself on a daily basis. Put it on a card. You know what I mean? It's something I learned from Bob Proctor, but like I said, I'm reading Earl Nightingale's The Strangest Secret, and that's literally what he recommends guys do. He says, get a card, write on the back of it your goal, and write it in the present tense and read it to yourself in the morning and at night. And whenever you find yourself in a situation of wanting to give up and feeling, pushed down or feeling like I should quit because things aren't going right, pull this out and read your goals. Read your goals to yourself. That will make you refocus on the end game, right? Nope, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. These are my goals. Right. So I recommend you guys do that. It's a very effective strategy. It's worked for a long time. Napoleon Hill talks about that in Think and Grow Rich. It's a proven strategy to keep you focused on your goals so that you don't give up. Right. So write it down. Okay. If your goal is to lose 100 pounds, write that down on a card and in the present tense, use I am statements. Right. So let's say you're right now, you weigh 230 and your goal weight is 175, right? You write in there like I work out, or I weigh 175 pounds. Like write it in the present tense. Okay, it's a good way of doing that. I am what was it? I am a fitness freak, right? Like something like that. Because when you use I am statements, it's it pretty much goes directly to your subconscious mind because it's identity. You're creating an identity around something. If you making it like, let's say you do want to lose weight for 2026, if you create the identity of a gym bro, yeah, I'm a gym bro. I am a gym bro. I lose weight. That identity of being a gym bro will have you going to the gym and actually enjoying the experience of going to the gym, creating an identity around it. So I am statements are really powerful. So like, for instance, on mine, I have goals about making a certain amount of money, right? So I am making X amount of dollars in book sale profits. I am making X amount of dollars in course sales. I am making X amount of dollars from coaching, right? And like, those are I am statements. Those are the types of things that I have on the back of my card. And I always have a card, and sometimes I update it. Sometimes there's something else I want to add to it. Sometimes my goals change. Like for a while there, a couple of years ago, before I really understood the ins and outs and the inside baseball of who's who in the zoo and the red pill space, I had a goal of being invited on Fresh and Fit, right? I was like, oh, I want to be on the Fresh and Fit podcast. I'm going to set that as an intention and as a goal, and I'm going to work towards that. And the more that I got to know other guys in the space, the more I started seeing like what was going on. I was like, that's not a good goal for me. Their message that they have on that show, not to try to shit on what they're doing, but a lot of the stuff is Jerry Springer type content. And I'm actually out here trying to help men. I'm not out here for rage bait bullshit. You know, my social media might say otherwise, but the social media rage bait bullshit is to get you to come here and actually learn something. You know what I mean? I want to help men. That's what I want to do. So I was like, I don't know if Fresh and Fit would be the right fit for that, because it's like a debate show for the most part. I mean, they do have stuff like Money Mondays, I guess people say, but the most outrageous stuff that they see is all in their after hours garbage nonsense. And I'm like, that's not for me. Doesn't sound interesting. So I removed that from my goal list. And I was like, I'm going to pursue something else. I'm going to do something else. Right. So if you have your goal list, like, don't be afraid of modifying it periodically. Right. But always have a end state that you're trying to go to, and never quit on that. Never quit. Okay. I challenge you guys to finish the year while others stop 3 feet from gold. I want you guys to finish this year by at least hitting the ground running with your goals for next year. Start now. Okay. I'm challenging you guys to start now with your 2026 goals. Don't wait until January. Don't wait. Start right now. I challenge you guys to do that. Sound good? All right. All right, guys, that's all we got for this episode. Tune into the podcast on Monday. We're going to talk about your testosterone levels and how it may be impacting your marriage or long-term relationships. It's something a lot of men don't even realize is an issue until they get tested. There's a brother in Wolfpack. I'm not going to name names, but he decided to go get tested the other day and found out he was well below the normal range. And if you heard his voice, he's got a very deep sounding voice. He's got a lot of facial hair. He's a very masculine looking dude. And he found out that his T levels were well below the normal range. And the normal range is like, what is it? 300 to 1,000 or something like that. He was below that, which is really bad. It's really bad. So if you guys, have anger issues, a lot of people think that guys who get on testosterone are roid raging. No, actually, when you optimize your T levels, you become very level-headed, very clear thinking, level-headed. So if you're a guy that has no emotional control, your T levels are probably pretty low, right? If you have libido issues, if you guys are having erectile dysfunction issues, you might want to go get your levels checked. We'll talk about that more on Monday, but that's all I got, guys. Do be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We will see you guys on Monday. Have a good weekend.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.